Hello, this is a free call from
Charlie.
An incarcerated individual at the Leon County Jail. This call is not private. It will be recorded and may be monitored. If you believe this should be a private call, please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number.
To accept this free call, press. To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse, thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Hi, Charlie.
Hey, honey. Hey, Dad. How are you?
I'm good. I'm okay. Yeah. More important, how are you feeling?
How are you doing?
I'm good. I talked to Roland, spent a lot of time talking to Bree. Didn't realize how much time I spent talking to them.
Okay. Well, but that's good. I know Dan has been writing. I don't know if you spoke to him at all, but.
No, I have not helped him at all.
Okay. Because he's trying to get this thing changed, and he's very frustrated because, this is right after. The first one was right after we hung up at 4:30 exactly, and
right.
I said to him, earlier I said, I'm still talking to Charlie. I told him what you said about Sergeant Whaley. Then I said, well, thank you for trying. Chief Mack never came, and he wrote back, I trust Whaley. It will get done. It might be a day or two, but he definitely has helped us in the past. So I'm ready for some other things, but he's trying.
I found out from the office that usually after you get found guilty of my charges, they put you in here for 72 hours for observation. So, and I was like, listen, this weekend is a Veterans Day weekend. I don't want, Chief Max to be here on Friday and have to be the one who signed off on it on Monday. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm not going to kill myself. I'm in a room where I can't look out any window. And if that mirror is facing me and the camera in here, and they don't turn the lights off. They leave the lights on 24/7. So it's I have these bright lights on my eyes, and I'm not able to look past 6 feet of concrete in front of me with blood and shit all over it, and piss on the floors. That's not right. You're trying to. My mental health is not getting better by locking me in a box.
Who did you say that to?
One of the officers, and she said, "Well, I'm going to try to talk to my lieutenant tomorrow, and I'm on the day shift tomorrow. She'll be here expires."
Because it's already been over 48 hours. So.
It's only been 48 hours. And honestly, it's been 4 weeks.
It's been 48 hours, a little more than that. So tomorrow, why can't?
Yeah, but who knows? He may only be on day shift, and then 48 hours would be tomorrow evening. He'd be gone. He may be done Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and he'd come back and let you out on Monday.
Yeah, because
that's why I'm trying to get out before the weekend of the Veterans Day weekend. He may be on a different schedule than most people. He may be a 9 to 5 in government hours.
Yeah, I'll talk to Dan in the morning. I'll explain that to him.
I haven't called Dan at all because he's given me so much of his time, and he doesn't need to listen to me now. I'm sure he's very pissed off himself.
He's very upset, actually. He's very upset.
I mean, he made a lot of promises, and it wasn't his fault. It was, and I was talking to Bree about it, and I don't know if I ever told you this. I had people who came in when I said, "Do you know anything about the case?" They go, "Well, I listened to a podcast over my dead body and saw the Dateline or 2020 episode also." Well, do you think that you could separate how you feel and listen to the rules of law and judge him fairly with what you just said that you view? Oh, yeah, I can. Okay.
Tell me they were scratched.
They didn't they don't get scratched. They make it to the next round. And I have to use my X in the next round to get rid of them. So I'm using my X's to get rid of. Listen, if you sat, I haven't listened to it, but I get the feeling if you sat and listened to a 6-part podcast about my case, it tells me you're overly interested, and it tells me that you've been tainted. Okay, now you tell us that you can totally separate yourself from any ideas or opinions you had after listening to that. Well, how are you going to remove that section of your brain that comes to that conclusion? Like, that's the question that you asked. It was a very polite way of saying, like, you can't get shit out of your head. You already have thoughts and ideas and beliefs. You're coming in with beliefs. Beliefs don't disappear because somebody says don't think like that anymore. You still have, everyone's got their experiences and beliefs that they ingrain coming in. I should have people who haven't heard of the case.
Of course.
The problem is, as officers have told me, you'd have to be living underneath a rock if you said you haven't heard of the case. Or you'd be lying. And the more I talked about it with you today and talked about it with Brady, there was not so this is what I'm saying. So they come in and they listen to the podcast and they make it to the next round. So of the 152 people, we had 92 people getting struck for cause. That means they said something that prevented them by law from being on my jury. They eliminated themselves by saying something. 92 people.
I don't understand how that's not a reason immediately to be struck. You shouldn't have to use a cross on that. That's insane.
No. She just said she can listen to the rules of law. She can judge me fairly. She can view me as innocent until proven guilty. And she can separate it. So she's one of the 60 that make it to the next round. And then once they have the 60 in the next round, they lined up 21 chairs and 21 people. There's 6 chairs in front of the jury box, so there's 22 actually. So they did a set of 22, and they did a whole questionnaire on them. Then they announced which ones they had to eliminate because it was like the New York Yankees guy, the guy who's the GM of a restaurant who doesn't want his restaurant mentioned in the press.
Yeah.
Those people got eliminated. So then there was a certain amount that were kept, and then ones that got kept stayed, and then we put a whole new group of 22. And then we had another whole CDR of 22. So then maybe 5 or 6 of those got eliminated for cause out of that group of 22. So you questioned even more. And then you were down to 35 people. And then out of the 35 people that made it to that point, there was still another 20 people sitting in the gallery, in the pews. So those 20 people are still sitting in the pews. And they have their second set of 20 that's up there, 22 were asking questions. And they were like, okay, we've got 35 out of the original 44 still left. And then we go back and we play the game where everybody's name is on a sheet of paper on the seat that they sat. It's labeled like 2 groups, 1 through 22 in one group, 1 through 22 in another. Certain people get X off for cause, and then you have what's left. So then you have what's left, and you start with juror number 1. Keep them to the state or to us, and they're like, we'll keep them. And then we look at it and we're like, okay, we'll keep them too. We go to juror number 2. The state goes, no, we're going to use our X. Get rid of that. Juror number 3, we're like, we'll keep them. Juror number 4, okay, we'll use our X. So each side gets 10 X's, and then they get repeated in that number order. So it works its way all the way to the top. So if you have a horrible juror, but he's number juror 35, you may never get to him. You may not have to use your X to get rid of him. So it's kind of a game. You don't want to, you each go in one turn, then their turn, one turn, then their turn to use your strikes. But at the end of the day, I can tell you that as the jurors who made it through the original questionnaire, I would have to say 2 in 10 will probably be jurors for them. That he was going to know this is Tallahassee. What's that?
I missed that. 2 in 10 were probably what? I couldn't hear that.
I'm sorry. I would say 2 in 10 that made it to the next round would have been jurors that would have been good for me. They would have given me a fair shot. They were somebody who was highly intelligent. They were white. They were successful. They were 2 and 10 were good jurors. Like that juror number 15, I said to Dan from the beginning, I'm like, I love that guy. Like he's going to be perfect for us. And he plays exactly what we need. Like we said that to each other. Whole time he's on the jury, he's shaking his head and nodding with us. He told Dan that he would have acquitted me.
I know.
But that's all. Like,
and these are the two that you felt were good. They X'd them out.
Anybody that was really like one of the guys said, you know what? I'm a former law enforcement officer, so he did do good and bad. And he goes, you know what though? He goes, I was a law enforcement officer for 15 years, and I was falsely accused of beating my wife. And I lost my entire life. I got arrested. All these people turned their backs on me. All these friends that I thought I had at law enforcement wanted nothing to do with me. And I got judged, and I was totally innocent. And it ruined my life. So I don't judge, because when I first started off in law enforcement, I thought everybody was guilty. And he's like, I look at this guy, he goes, he looks like my brother. He really does. I think I could definitely treat him fairly. I would give him a fair shake. I know what it's like to be falsely accused of something I didn't do. Like, I would definitely give him a fair shake. Guess what? They acted him off. So, do you remember 15? That was the one who told Dan he would have acquitted me. He got X'd off. Another guy that would have been great for me, he got X'd off. So it was like we were getting the 2 and 10 that were going to be good for me. And we knew that because we were asking questions just like they were asking questions, and we were trying to find out, where these people like, what, the normal stuff that you hire a jury consultant for to bring out.
Right.
And it was like, there was so few people that would be good for me. We knew who was going to be good for me. And if they were good for me, they put an X on them. But the problem was that it was only probably 2 and 10 that were going to be good for me. The rest were absolute shit. And I'm sitting there using X's on people who listen to the podcast. But to be honest with you, they didn't really do this. Like, it's jury selection, and they had it down to a science. I mean, you should see how much. We had one guy, his last name is Jack, and he comes in, 70-year-old white guy, doesn't really know much about the case, kind of heard something about it years ago, could really treat me fair, everything. Well, I guess the consultants go on everybody's Facebook, have Facebook. They do research on these people.
Right.
You know what they found? He was posting about the case that he wished he could kill Secreto Garcia.
Oh my God.
He was saying that he never posted anything. So after he left the room, the jury consultants brought it up to the judge and said to the judge, "You see the problem we're having? People are coming in here and lying to get on the case." And he said, "What do you mean?" Or because this gentleman that we just interviewed, and we bring him back in because we found the post that he said that he could be fair and didn't know too much about the case, that he's posting about it on his Facebook, that 4 months ago he wished he could kill Secreto Garcia to get revenge. He's alive on the page. He's posting about it on his open Facebook, on his public Facebook account. He's posting about the case.
Unbelievable.
Months ago. And he just came in, well-spoken, white guy, wearing a jacket and a shirt, nice dress shirt, showing up for jury. And that's when Dan was like, "This is scary." Like, this guy just literally came in and lied to all our faces. Like, he's posting about the case on his public Facebook account months ago. That's how involved he is in the case. He's writing about it months ago. He showed up to watch the case in trial.
Right. In real time.
He showed up to be a member of the audience and watch. It wasn't like a jury.
It was not a fair jury. That's the problem.
It was not a chance in fucking hell. It was Look, I know I'm not as smart as Dan or Josh, but I can tell you that I felt it in my bones when I was in South Florida. I felt it when in 2020, I felt it in my bones. I felt it in my gut. I knew that coming up to Tallahassee would not give me a fair shot in the fucking years. And it was because of the amount of press that I was hearing that it was generating, the podcast, the small town that, I mean, if I would have had any idea that they would have turned this into, crazy emails and Wendy's book and Wendy showing up at the crime scene and it taking the context of, not having the context of anything, just taking the words out of the sentences that they're in and just highlighting them and being like, you said this, you said this, you said this, like, and just twisting the truth and twisting the truth and twisting the truth. Like, I would have told you without a doubt, there's been a chance in hell it would turn out anyways like this. The only difference was I had Dan telling me, and other people too out in South Florida, other people in South Florida, and then Dan when I got up here, it's like, look, we're going to make sure that you get a fair jury.
No, he's ever, and I know because I've discussed this already with him. He's never encountered anything like that. It's a publicity.
I mean, it was bomb. It was so. For Dan, and you got to understand this, he was telling me, look, if I give you a score of 70 on how you testify, if you get a 70 on how you testify, I'm driving you home. He's like, every way he plays his case out, he's like, I can get you to the finish line, but if you score a 70, I drive you home. I get done, I go, what's my score? How did I do? He get a 95. You get a 95 because the consultants were very impressed with you. Everybody was impressed with you. He was showing me text messages people were sending him. He's like, look, the worst we're going to do is hang. He's like, I think we're going to win now. I really do. Like, I said, so he said, look, everything on the case, if you had told me 2 weeks ago would be at this point in the case, because I would be ecstatic.
That jury. I don't understand.
He said that jury. It wasn't that jury. It's the town.
I know.
It's not that jury. You got to realize there wasn't one fucking person that voted for me. Not one. Like, this is a first-degree murder case. Not one. It has to be so slammed shut that you know what happened. Not like, hey, y'all, use your common sense. The TV, the phone calls to the landline, the route that Wendy took that morning. Like, come on now. What does it all add up to? Like, all this code talk. Like, no TV code. Wendy went the route she always went and never goes to a liquor store, so she went the only way she knows how to go. Picked up a bottle for a party. But it's like, it's just, her using Wendy's book with a line that she wrote in there 6 years ago to really make it seem like this actress, this phony actress, thinks Tallahassee's a shit town on the way to civilization. Got on the map on the way to civilization. Like, if you could sit in those people's faces and say, I'm smarter than you, I'm richer than you, I'm better than you, and I'm headed to Miami, that's exactly what you just did when you follow that up with an autopsy photo. There was no fucking way with a presentation like that, with all the, they say it goes towards motive, but like all the fucking bullshit fluff that you put in, there's not a chance in hell you're going to win. Not a chance in hell. And especially not when I'm able to find 2 out of 10 good jurors, but I'm using my exes to get people off who are watching the podcast. Like, I should be using my exes to, like, get people that would be good on my case. I can't get people that are good. There's a few good ones who are taken care of by the state. In my case, you were either a good juror or a really bad juror. I mean, I know it sounds like, oh, they're good for me, they're bad for the state, but it's like everybody was for the state except for a small handful, and you can easily identify them. They spoke their mind. They told you that you really felt that they could give you a fair shot, and they looked like somebody that would have come from an educated, successful background. Not the guy who makes $12 an hour working at the Florida State Bookstore. You think he's ever written a book? Do you think he wants to read about an author shitting on Tallahassee on our way down to Miami? Like, this wasn't that Dan misread the jury. This isn't that Dan misread what Tallahassee was. I can't explain it any other way. Like, she came in great. She's showing demonstrators of me calling the home phone that we've had since 1976. Probably because I knew my parents were in the house and they don't get great reception unless I call the landline when they're in the house. They get better reception on the landline. That's the only reason I would call that. I'm calling from my cell phone. She used that demonstrative twice.
I know. Which makes no sense.
It does make sense. It was statistically significant. They didn't care that you only had that address for 65 days in 2014. They put a timeline up to the end of 16. And what did they show? 99.8% of the time I don't call that phone. 99.8%. When do I call it? When they're making the first trip, when they're making the second trip. Y'all decide. Use your common sense. There's something going on here, ain't it? There's a tie. There's a commonality. I mean, there is commonality. I'm not going to lie, but it just happens to be like that. Well, how many times are you going to say it just happens to be like that? You know, and then they keep referring back to crazy emails and Wendy wanted to get the hell out of Tallahassee, and then Wendy changed the names of the boys, and then Wendy kept the boys from seeing their parents. Like, you paint a horrible picture, and you tie it together with Wendy's book and your emails, and you spin a story. And these people don't know me from Adam. They know there's stuff in the legislature to let grandparents see kids because of Wendy. Do you think they're doing that for fun, or you think really Wendy's keeping her grandkids from the grandparents? What's the perception? Mom.
I know all these things.
It's like a bad fucking movie. All right, it's like good. Now I'm not in my shock state. I'm in my angry state.
Yeah, well, you just have right thing.
I go from shock to anger, sad, to anger, shock. I mean, it's people with a brain watch my testimony. They recognize there's holy shit, there is something here.
Yeah.
Oh shit, he's getting security cameras in his house and his office. It was advanced in weeks. It was actually within days. It wasn't weeks. It was 8 days later they got installed. So 9 days later. So, he wanted to get cameras anyway. Yeah, we talked about it, but it never really moved on it until this. But like, called the guy up 2 days later and scheduled him for that weekend. He was within the week. Cameras were getting installed the following weekend. The following Saturday. This happened on the 18th. The Friday. The following weekend it was getting installed. And I was writing in a check as he was finishing up on Monday. You know, so it's like, it doesn't matter It wasn't the evidence that was stacked against you. It was the total package they were able to paint. It was just a total. It was a day-long special. It was let me get him on the stand and drill him. Okay, he got nowhere. Let's just do Dateline. Let's do Dateline with autopsy photos. Come on, y'all. Use your brain. Use your brain. Like, and you know what? I knew in my bones when I was down south that if I ever came up to Tallahassee, I would never have a shot in the fucking bowl. Especially not with the climate, and you know, and how big of a case this was to Castleman, and all the extrinsic storytelling, finger pointing, foreshadowing, ways she could get people to hate me. The Jew that's infatuated with Nazis. You know, the crazy emails. You know, she was really trying to spin a lot of that stuff with Dave until I sat up there and I was like, Dave's a great guy, but I think I liked him more than my sister did. But I think I did a good job of explaining, like, Dave's birthday's in April, my sister's birthday's in April, the wiretap started in April. And I made a point of saying my nephew farted on his head and he thought it was funny. Like, he loves his voice. Like, that's what I like most about it. So I thought it would have been a great opportunity for my sister that she'd be passing up. So I tried to convince her to, you know, she was there for 2 years. It wasn't like she just met the guy on a dating app. Like, he was a total package, you know, but I guess I liked him more than my sister did.
Sure, you
like that.
So real, so natural, so honest.
Yeah.
You did.
Like, she was spending the day calls to make it be like we're meddling in her business. No, that was one of her best friends, and she really loved it. Just not in a relationship way. But she'd been with him for 2 years, and her birthday was coming up, and she wasn't going to invite him to the birthday, so we thought she was making a big mistake, and she didn't. I was looking out for her. I didn't force her or anything to date. I was just trying to talk some sense to her. Like, I care about her. No big deal. And she was trying to send those days calls like it was like an example of us meddling in Wendy's love life. Like, this whole thing was a TV production. I mean, the witnesses that showed up, they admit they lied. The key witnesses are lying. Like, Dan said, you testify well, you're 70 or above, I'm driving you home. He kept saying, listen, I can get you to the finish line, but you gotta hold up under cross. You gotta do a good job on direct. And I'm gonna go ahead and go through everything with you in this case. Like, we're gonna go through all these wires. We're gonna hit every point of questioning. They're gonna see that you're telling the truth. Like, you know, like, it all comes down to you. No, it really didn't come all down to me because he's like, well, what he said to me is that it all comes down to whether they believe you or they don't believe you. And I said to him, it's like, I don't think it came down to the believe you or don't believe you. They already hated you. They already had every reason to hate me. They could never relate to me and my life in these years. You know what the postman is sitting there saying? There's a lot of streets in Tallahassee, and she ain't nowhere near that street. Why the hell is she traveling down that street on that date, on that time? In hindsight, probably a postman, the 20-year sergeant in the Army, was the last leader he wanted on that case. Because what is his experience? Postmen know streets like the back of their hand. And there's a lot of streets in Tallahassee. You don't need to be driving down that street on that date, on that time, unless you're connected. or it's a 1 in a billion. And if she knew something was going on, and that's why she was driving down that street on that time, on that day, then of course it's people. Or am I going to believe that that's just a weird coincidence? It's not. You use your common sense. Like, I knew in my bones when I was in South Florida what it was going to be like up here. I just guess I didn't follow my gut. I didn't think I'll say that. Such a fucked up situation. It's unbelievable. Like I was talking to Bree, and she was like, Charlie, I was sending your parents all these like new messages that people were writing on these like, you know, blogs and everything. Not that it matters, but like it was opening up people's eyes. People were coming to new conclusions. It was clear to them. You know, they're like, oh my God, like, but you know what, yeah? I guarantee you none of those kind of people that write those were writing on there were A, from Tallahassee, and B, they weren't people that the prosecution would have ever let slip onto my jury. And I would never get 12 people like jury number 15. Couldn't get one of them on my jury. We knew who people, if someone is educated, they make the money, they're professional, they're 40s, 50s, late 30s maybe, the 30s, 40s, 50s, they're going to get the case. The problem is anybody that comes close to that description is going to get one of their 10Xs and card out the door. This wasn't a case that got facts or proof or reasonable doubt. This was like, y'all use your common sense. Well, you know what? If you told me y'all use your common sense and you told me that this chick drove down the street on this date, on this time, and traveled 10 miles, and this is what her answer was, and this is who her brother is, and this is who his brother's girlfriend is, and this is the shit she wrote about in that book, she wanted to leave Tallahassee. She's an actress. Her mom even says it. Like, read it for yourself. Like, it's plain, she made it plain to see. Like, that's what the case turned into. And I get it. Like, I know there's other evidence, but that's why you're showing up is a big piece to get over. Like, and that right there will get you convicted. That one piece will get you convicted before you do all the other. I mean, I don't even belabor that. Didn't talk for hours. No, don't even belabor it anymore. But what is I mean, with all that extrinsic shit, that became the case. Like, it didn't become Luis Rivera said it could have been. It didn't become the other witness is still lying. Like, she shows up and just lying again and again and again and again. Like, it didn't become, look at the piece of shit that the state's bringing in with Ryan. It didn't become, look at Jeff Lacoste, the dude thinks he's brain. He thinks he's brain. And, like, now he's making up a bunch of shit, just trying to throw shit everywhere because he feels like he's under the gun. Like, you're talking about, like, real-life elements and facts and things that you build a case and you discuss and you want to debate or you want to prove points. This closing was nothing but Dateline with autopsy photos. I mean, if you ask me, it should be grounds for appeal for the basis that they showed the autopsy photo twice and left it up there for 7 or 8 minutes each time. Like, no one's debating that he was brutally killed, but it's like what you're tormenting these people with is you're playing with their emotions. Not only are they upset, you're showing them the before picture, the after picture. You're showing it to them twice. Like, you're traumatizing the jury, you know, and then you're telling them that these people think you in Tallahassee are a dot on the map on the way to civilization. You're not part of civilization. She's above you. She's above you, and she showed up there when this was done. That's basically what she was showing. And who benefited from this happening? Who got what she wanted? You know, like, it wasn't the case. You know, the case was what happened July 18th. The case is what happened to me at my house on July 18th. Wake up. Like, she realized when I was on the stand, she wasn't going to be able to prove her point of what she wanted to show on July 18th. So the only way she could dispute it is say that you made friends with her. Of course, she was protecting me. Like, we never hung out, other than to really give her money. I paid her 1 or 2 times that half the people were hanging out. But, like, we were done dating that week. We were done. Like, but then she goes ahead and closes it. She's like, they were together 4 or 5 months later. They were dating. No, we weren't.
No.
I was with Whitney from the beginning of August. I went out with Whitney to the Keys, and then she flew up to Pennsylvania, and then she came down the end of August. She pretty much almost moved in my house the end of August. Like, she pretty much moved in my house the end of August. You know, like, I was with Whitney. I mean, originally she got moved in with Clint, but she pretty much spent every night at my house. Spent 2 nights at Clint's house, and she came in August. Like you're saying to these people I carried on a relationship for another 4 months? Like, totally lied and twisted it. But, like, these fucking idiots can't remember what they heard last week. They're relying on Georgia's summary. Like, you know, how you can give an instruction to disregard whatever the prosecutor says. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, I hear you fine.
All right. How are you doing today?
Who's doing okay?
I'm doing fine, Charlie. I'm just
No, I'm just talking. I'm just like, you know, how you can give an instruction to the jury to only pay attention to the evidence in the case. Don't take anything that the lawyers say in closing as fact. But then they're giving a summary and you're hanging on every word like it is fact. I mean, if what they're saying is not fact, might as well put your headphones on and go to sleep. Like, you have to listen to what they have to say. You're not able to cross-reference that with stuff earlier in the case when he said she never slept at his house again after the 18th when they broke up that week. No, Appleman's like, no, they were dating 4 or 5 months later. Not true at all. He said a complete fucking lie that paints a picture of something that's not taking place. That should not be allowed.
No, it should not be allowed.
Because if I'm on the jury and I didn't hear it the first time when I was on the stand 4 days earlier when they asked me when our relationship ended, I didn't catch that, but they're locked in Appleman on Monday. She's letting them know it didn't end until 4 months later, afterwards. Carried on a relationship. No, I didn't carry on a relationship for 4 or 5 months. That's a complete lie. If that's the case, then what Appleman's saying does make more sense.
It wasn't the case.
So it wasn't the case.
She just lied.
So you're lying. You're lying to create a story for your case to sound better. And it does. Like, It does. I can't see how that's not appealable. That, like, she's telling the jury that we carried on a relationship for 4 or 5 months when we were done that week.
Without any proof.
I mean,
Just said it.
yeah, just said it. Why would they not believe it? The prosecutor's not lying to them, or officers in court. The prosecutor. Why was she lying about relationships, though? They can see that we are, we're cahoots together. We're carrying on this relationship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Charlie? Honey?
Charlie?
Charlie, can you hear me? Just wait about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I thought I heard like a
9:36. I wonder if the battery is
9:46. Might have. Charlie, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I lost you for about 30 or 40 seconds there.
Sorry.
Just hearing you. Yeah.
But I can hear it. But, it's like, we hooked up once in October. Look at the relationship to boyfriend and girlfriend from that night forward for 4 or 5 months until we decided to separate. She makes it seem like we didn't separate because of that. Yes, we did. But you're going to lie, and then people are going to listen to your lie, and then they're going to evaluate the case. Every word out of your mouth is to make people fucking hate me. Hate my mom, hate my sister, show an autopsy photo. Hate you, hate your mom, hate your sister, show another autopsy photo. Bring in the code, bring in the coincidence, bring in the landline shit. Like, none of that has to do with my fucking house on the 18th. None of it. I'm like, it's exactly what I pictured. It's honestly, Mom, exactly what I pictured being without even, it's even worse than I pictured. Put it that way. Like, I pictured it being an unwinnable place that we could come to and get a fair trial. Unwinnable. They needed only at the mouth to get an Adelson up here for 7 years. They've had an Adelson in their mouth for 7 years. They were mad at Willie Meggs for what he said. They were really mad at him. They got nothing new. Everything on Dulce Vita could be explained, especially by the fact you missed the whole first half of the conversation. You're hearing only bits and pieces, and there's no context unless I tell you why I said what I said and why I said it. Like, it's all perfectly explainable. I mean, remember Lady was asking me questions, and she was asking me questions about it. I was explaining what I said and why I said it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I wasn't hiding from it. I was like, no, she always used that expression, that Nazi shit, because the Nazis were crazy. So I'm trying to tell her I'm going to get someone to go crazy on these people and get them to stop. Like, why didn't you get someone to go crazy on that guy in the first place? I'm like, because I have someone protecting me and handling it. And she made it clear. And she wouldn't tell me who the person was. This guy wasn't hiding his identity. It couldn't have been the same person. Like, that wire, when I said it's not the same person without a doubt, done 48 hours. Like, that is comparing the first extortion to the second extortion.
That's right.
Like, plain as day. Like, that should be a tape that you play, and it's like, that's reasonable doubt. We just heard what he's talking about. We're good. No. We're building a case on Wendy's fucking book. Her mom's emails. Wendy's travel plans that day. Like the code word TV, the whole phone line. None of that has anything to do with the case. Or me. Especially me. But it's like, what are the chances of her showing up there that day, that time, that fucking street, and she's not involved? So I told you, so when I said to me, he goes, that's 1 in a million, man. The odds of that, what are the odds of that? That's 1 in a million that she's going down that street that day, that time, an hour afterwards, and it's not related to what just happened. When that person said that to me, I got sick. But I thought, like, okay, that doesn't have anything to do with me. That's her. But you know what? If she was there because she couldn't help herself, it's because she would have had a note from me. And I'm like, let's open her that word. Is that a coincidence? Like, she couldn't help herself. Like, it tied everything. Like, it was worse than I expected. As bad as I thought it would be if I came up here, I didn't think that it was going to be this kind of show with that kind of evidence. I mean, even to the point of showing the 7530536 number. They're creating evidence. And you know what's crazy, Mom? When Dan saw that, when I was with him, and he saw that demonstrative, you know what he said to me? When I was going through stuff with him here at the jail, in the room? He goes, that's awful. He goes, if they're going to use this as a demonstrative, fantastic. He goes, let them. He's like, I will destroy them with how stupid this is. He's like, this doesn't prove anything. This is just, I mean, they gave something statistically significant, but I'm calling from my cell phone to their home phone because I know they're home and they get better reception on the landline. Oh, I'm going to destroy them when I with this because this just shows how they're just grasping and they have really no idea what's going on.
Because they didn't have any real evidence, so they did that. They paid bills to them.
And he was going to destroy them. You know what, Mom? The people that were there hated you so much. Everything you put on that plate in front of them, they eat it up. It just became a pile of evidence. Looking at it and going, this is a pile of shit. They were poor people who were dot on the map on the way to civilization. It's like saying this. The smart ass woman has been for one of us. And they showed an autopsy photo. I mean, it was like a psychological. It was put in together like to psychologically lead somebody to hate the person, to feel like they were personally insulted, and to render a verdict. Like you would not stand a chance with that jury, with any jury up here. I said to Dan, Dan, there's like this was crazy. Like I got Josh Dubin to tell me I don't need the girl who just listens to Over My Dead Body podcast. Like, I mean, he did a great job asking people questions and interviewing. Like he really was fantastic. But as far as picking a jury, it was an obvious waste. It was an obvious waste.
Yeah.
You know, it was an obvious waste. And I don't even think because Dan said to me, they didn't believe me. Because they didn't believe, they had to not believe, and maybe he's just talking, it was like, they didn't believe what he said is what actually happened. But I'm like, look at them and look at me and look at my life. Like, they weren't there, and they don't know what my life was like, and they weren't at my house that night. Like, they didn't want to believe me. They couldn't relate to me. They had nothing in common with me. They hated me to begin with. You know, anybody that would have been that would have been a 2 and 10, that you would have said these people would be good for him. They got that. They knew the jurors didn't want that thing. It wasn't even about the jurors I didn't want. It was the ones that were fucking terrible. I had to get rid of them.
Seriously, I don't understand how it's not that far. How they can just say, yeah, I think he's fair, then we move on to the next round.
That's all they have to say. I mean, Jesus, you could be a sheriff's officer and come in and I could be totally fair. You think you can show up to work after you just let me go? Tell your sergeant you let me go? No. All I have to say is I can be totally fair, objective, and follow the rules of the law, and then you're not disqualified. So what podcast was it? And they remember the name of the podcast from 4 years earlier. She remembered the name from 2019. 4 years ago, I listened to the podcast and I saw a date on it. And I've read a little bit about it too, because I think it's pretty interesting. Can you be fair? Oh yeah, no, I definitely can be fair. I mean, I don't need Josh Dubin to sit there and tell me, yeah, you probably want to put an X on this one. You know, he did a great job asking them questions, and we got everybody back there. But like Dan said to me, he said, I don't know how truthful or true it was with us.
You don't know how what? I didn't hear them.
Sorry, he said, I don't know how truthful or jury was with us. I mean, if you don't know what you don't know, and when they tell you they know nothing, then what's your follow-up question? What are you getting your news for? I don't really matter. I don't have a TV. I just I like to work and garden, and I don't really know much about it. You don't go up there and grab every day, and they know a lot about the case, and they're looking forward to getting on it. You know, but I can tell you this. 5 people had law enforcement in their family, and 3 people, either them or their spouse, worked at Florida State.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand that. They shouldn't have been on the jury. Certainly the law enforcement.
Therefore, they had law enforcement in their family. The problem is this is a law enforcement community. You know, you're not going to go to church and not know 10 police officers that go to your church. There's nine law enforcement agencies in Tallahassee. 9. You know, FDLE, Highway Patrol, Sheriff's Office, Tallahassee Police, you got Capitol Police, you got the FBI. Like, there's a lot of agencies that have the area comes up with. That's told it's actually 9. So it's pretty likely you got someone in your family that's a police officer or a friend of a police officer or you work at Florida State or your spouse works at Florida State or, you know, I mean, you look at this batch club that worked at the fucking bookstore at Florida State wearing his Florida State gear, you know, say they were living at Florida State General Sugar. Thinking to myself, like, guy makes $12 an hour at a bookstore when he's writing a book, Trash in Tallahassee, on the way to Miami, just like in the book. Small guy on the map on the way to civilization. Like, all that was in the case for one reason only. And it was just to get people paid. You know, why do you think she was asking me what does Bree do for Dave and how old is she?
I know. I heard these questions and Ted and I looking at each other like, what? What's she asking? Makes no sense.
Because she was the nanny, so she was thinking this girl was like, could have been 16, 17, 18. Yeah. You know, and it would have sounded like scandalous. That's why I answered her. I said, no, she graduated college, and then she went to work with Dave. She's 24. That position, she's the mother of my child. That's very nice. Yeah. We actually appreciate it. Saying that she went to college, not just saying she was a nanny, you know?
That's right.
Yeah, I started off by saying she went to college for 4 years, or 6 days. She went to college, she graduated, and then she went to work for Dave. Like, totally takes her away from the doubt point of saying like, oh, was she 18?
Yeah.
That's where she was headed with it. Just the way everything else was like. What she did was she knew she wasn't going to win on cross-examination with me.
No, she lost on that. Everybody. She totally lost. Yeah.
She totally lost. She totally got corrected multiple times. I knew the wires better than her. I know the case better than her. She lost. So when a prosecutor has the defendant on the stand and she gets nowhere, she's getting put in her place, what does she do? She puts on a Dateline TV show for 2 hours.
How many times did she put those pictures up?
Twice. And it wasn't just like she showed the picture and they saw it and she moved on. She left it up and talked with it on. What she did is first she showed the photo of him with his blue tie and a white shirt standing by the law school white columns, you know?
Right.
So first it was that photo, and then this is what happened to him. This is the before, and this is the after. And he was stripped of his clothes, put on the table, and photographed. And this is what he looked like that day.
So why did she show it again? What was the reason? Because we didn't see anything like that.
Oh yeah, no, they wouldn't show that on TV. It's the most horrible graphic photos I've ever seen in my life.
But why did she show it a second time?
To make the effect twice as effective as the jury.
But when was she doing that? Was she doing that in the summation? Because I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh, she did. She had it up there.
Oh yeah. Listen, behind her, like facing the jury, is a screen that's hanging down that's bigger than a projector screen you have in the old house. It's probably like 8 feet wide, like 6 feet high. It's at least 8 by 6, 10 by 12. So they're putting things on the projector of the elbow. That's what is being projected in front of the jury. It's like bright LED light. So they're sitting there, and you know, after they get, and it was timed obviously, and she knew what her script was. So it was kind of like, you know, you get the insulting things from Wendy about people in Tallahassee and her desire to live down south. She belittles Tallahassee. She lied about belittling Tallahassee. And then her mother wants her to come down south. And then next thing you know, you see an autopsy photo of Dan. You got your motive, and you see what happens. And you get sick. And you got your little princess writing a story, foreshadowing, saying it's just a fictional place. But let's be honest, like, it was North Florida State. The girl was an immigration lawyer, married to a college professor with 2 small children, boys, in a town that sounds just like Tallahassee. Like, you'd be lying if you said what's wrong with Florida State University. And her I voted in the Panhandle or somewhere in North Florida. And it was just a small stop on the map on the way to civilization. I mean, listen, it's just a line in a book, but you got to admit it's perfectly good with Captain's story.
Totally did. I just took you off speaker because while we were talking, Dad just fell asleep. So I'm just putting you in my ear.
Yeah, that's good. The manic is probably kicking in, huh?
Yeah. I think it's
definitely keep them taking advantage because it's not worth on a heart attack or an emergency.
No.
That was really fun. Completely.
Look, I have a lot of information. I'm working on getting an appeals attorney, and yes, there are specific things that you can get an appeal for, but there are also extenuating circumstances, which is what I'm going for. So let's give it a little bit of a chance. What I'm confused about, and I need to talk to Dan about tomorrow, is I don't know if it has to be filed within 30 days or 60 days. So if it's 30, I gotta get moving on this.
Okay.
Yeah. So
no, it has to be. I mean, it has to be extenuating circumstances. Like I'm just like.
That's how I feel.
I mean, listen. I know everybody who loses a trial must feel that way, but like,
no, this is
different. Like this has to be part of a fucking bad movie. Like Dan's been doing this for 25 fucking years. Like he would never be saying the things he was saying.
Of course not. Oh my God. Of course not.
It makes him look like a fool.
Yeah.
Like especially when I did as well as I did, and he did as well as he did. And it's like, oh, well, you can't predict juries. No, guess what? When I'm using my extras to get people off who listen to a 6-hour podcast, like when I'm using my extras to get people off a 6-hour podcast, and the state witness, the headline case, says it could have been an extortion, right then and there, the case should be over. That's what it's about. Not Wendy's book. Her foreshadowing and her travel plans of that day, and me calling 7530536, like, I'm sitting there and I'm writing post-it note after post-it note after post-it and handing it to Dan, and he's just like, stop. Stop it. And look at it together. Like, obviously, he can't do anything about it. He's going to do his little shit. But, like, that's what it was. It was a little shit. He didn't have, photos that were going to shake everybody to the core. He had puzzle pieces. And, hey, they don't fit. Guess what? These people just saw the most graphic photos of their life left on the screen multiple times. The autopsy photos. Like, horrible photos. Like, the kind of stuff that people see probably when they go to war. They get PTSD from what they saw. And then leaving on this after talking about Wendy going, writing her book, taking a shit on you on the way down south. Use common sense, guys. Listen, when someone talks to you like that, that's just saying like,
yeah,
you're smarter than they are. You get the final word. Like, you're gonna buy this shit? Like, no. Why don't you listen to the witnesses? Listen to Luis Rivera. He said this could have been an extortion.
Yeah.
Like, that's your own state's witness. He's like, I was lied to. Okay, that's all enough for you to quit right there. But it's not that. They confuse them with so much extemporary bullshit.
Just bullshit. Yeah, that's what it was. Bullshit.
Yeah, literally. Because it's funny. It made so much sense. Brian Watson at one point said to me, Charlie, if they ever find out the exact code on TV, that we would be screwed. Brian, do you know why they're never going to figure out what the code is? Exactly what it is? He goes, well, why? What's that? I go, there is no fucking code. You can't figure out code when there is none. So I can promise you in a billion years it'll never be figured out because there was never one. He's like, man, that's just really unfortunate that happened. And whenever, and it's easy things to grab hold of. There has to be
something they can understand and remember. It's easy.
Yeah. And hey, listen. When the person shows up at the scene of the crime, they can almost get planned on being arrested just for that.
Right. I know.
And here, suspect numero uno shows up at the scene of the crime that morning, an hour afterwards, by coincidence. But my friend from Detroit said that's 1 in a million.
Yeah. I know.
So in order to think she's innocent, she has to be that 1 in a million that she is innocent. The other 999,000 smell like shit. Like, that's the definition of being at the wrong place. You ever see the movie My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah, long time ago.
Do you remember how, like, when the two boys, they were going on, like, a road trip, and they pulled into the convenience store with a sack of soap, and then they left, and then, like, as they were leaving, a car with near identical color, near identical size, the two people that fit their description pulled up, and they robbed the place, and they killed the clerk. But when they left, that one that had a different model, almost identical. The only difference was one tire set positive rear traction, one tire spun while the other tire didn't. And she was mercilessly on the stand to prove that could have come from the same car and been by positive traction. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. I don't.
And they showed her the pictures of the tire marks. And if she was like, I knew my whole family was mechanics, and I knew mechanics, and I knew.
Oh, right, when she was on the stand.
Like,
yes.
She's like, that car didn't come with the positive traction. It only came in the 67. The 66 didn't have positive traction. So the one tire was spinning while the other tire was up in the air. And that's why there was only one tread mark. They couldn't have been it. And then they come in and they're like, someone was just arrested with this gun and this car in the town over, and they were robbing the convenience store. It's like literally two guys fitting a description in the same car, pulled up, like within seconds of them leaving, went in the store, killed the clerk, and drove off. And these guys had just left the store with the same color car and the same description. And it's like, what are the chances?
I know. It's a really good example. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, and like the eyewitness put them at the scene. Like the eyewitnesses identified them, and they had just left, and they had the same car, near identical same car, but the witnesses all identified it and put them there. And it's like, so you think the witnesses are making it up that two youths with like the same 1967 Pontiac lime green showed up? I mean, it happened. It happened. You were part. Didn't have positive traction. But my point is like, it's that kind of thing where you show a guy who works in the post office for 20 years, and there's all these streets, and she's taking streets she shouldn't be on, and she's taking the most direct route, and she's traveling 10 miles and having 4 liquor stores, and then she shows up at the crime scene. That was in their opening. That was in their closing. When they're opening and closing on the same stuff, those are the points they want you to remember. Like, no debate about what happened at my house on the 18th.
Yeah.
And guess what? There ain't no debate that when you showed up at the crime scene an hour after it happened, 10 miles away. Like, that is something that's hard evidence that you can't debate. Mine is he said, she said.
Right.
You can't debate when he showed up at the crime scene an hour after that, 10 miles away. You can't argue it. It happened. You can't argue the book that she wrote, the lines that she put in there. Like, you can't because it happened. Then you look at people and you go with the code and all that shit, and you go, use your common sense. I mean, someone gives you that answer, use your common sense, where do you think it is? And by the way, she insulted you guys on the way out of town. She changed the kid's last name. She keeps the grandparents from seeing the kids. And she found her way to civilization. And here's an autopsy photo. Yeah. And he's having a nice conversation with them while this big screen, 8 by 10, 8 feet by 10 feet, with the worst photo you've ever seen in your life. Telling them that this man was stripped naked for a slap. Photograph. That was autopsy. Just a few hours earlier, he was at the gym in Tallahassee. at Premier Fitness. And he suffered for 14 hours. You feel horrible. And then you feel horrible, and she's a bitch because she went 48 hours later and stopped horrible. Nothing happening with the 18th doesn't say, the line that carried on a relationship with her who had it. The thing is this, in a normal world, this never would have flown because you would have a case that not everybody on the planet knew about. So I wouldn't be wasting my efforts. I don't need Josh Dubin to tell me not to get the girl who just watched over my body podcast on my case. How insightful was he for Dan to say I spent the most amount of time I ever had on a case, I've never known it this well. I had a defendant testify and score 95% in my eyes. And you can't get one person to agree with you? Not one person. If it was working that one person would call this case, it is usually when I have a case, I always want to get at least one person out there who agree with me. So I know at least it's going to be a hung jury. Because this is crazy. Because in this case, I'm worried that we get one person who disagrees with us and makes it a hung jury because it's an 11-1. It's normally I want to always get that one on there that's a hang jury. Normally defendants don't take the stand.
No, that's right.
Yeah, normally defendants don't take the stand, and normally, he just wants to get at least one person so it hangs. This wasn't like getting one person so it hangs. He was worried that it was going to be, one person to vote for you so it hangs. He was worried that he was only going to get 11 out of 12. He's like, we need to get you home. We need to get 12 out of 12, not 11 out of 12. I don't want to get 10-2 and do this thing over again. So the hung jury will do it over again. We need to get all 12. We bring Josh Dubin in that's going to really dig into these people's profiles and get the right people on here. Not one. I feel like I'm still in a fucking movie. Not one person. I mean, I know that's not an appellate issue, but it's just a realization that it's between Josh and his whole fucking team and all the effort he put in. For him to tell me I did a 95% on the stand, he said to me, if you do a 70%, I'm driving you home. There's not a doubt in my mind. You do 70%, I'm driving you home. That's all you got to get. He said you got a 95 because this is the best you ever testified. This is the best of it. See, you're sharp. To the point. You made your point. You make a big deal about everything of her. It was cool. You carried the day. This was all you, man. Yeah. This was you, man. You carried the day. I got you there, and you did it, man. We were so pumped last Friday. I haven't talked to Michael in a long time, and I called him up on the phone. Right? I mean, it's got to be last time I talked to him was 118 days. So I called him up on the phone, and I was like, he's like, man, you did fantastic. He's like, I was impressed with you. He's like, she was getting frustrated with you. He's like, she was like, I knew she was frustrated with you. She started asking you, how old is Bree? And what does she do for days? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, we really worked hard, and the case came in good. And Dan's a closer. Dan walks around saying his specialty is closing. He's as good as they come, and his specialty is closing. I'm literally giving away all my stuff, taking my phone numbers with me to court because I don't think they're going to bring me back at high profile, which is going to release me from the courthouse.
Really, everyone was just blindsided by that. Really, everyone.
I mean, it's not a health issue to go, hey, we were blindsided by the verdict. Like, you're invincible.
No.
But not here.
No. It's supposed to be unpredictable.
Listen, not when you have everything come in perfect and Josh Dubin picking the jury. This wasn't me picking the jury. This was Josh Dubin picking the jury. Like, that's impossible for everything to come in perfect and even better. I mean, he's with witnesses. He got more out of Willie Rivera than he thought he'd get.
Yeah.
He got more out of other people than he thought he got. He got them to admit he didn't have to admit. I mean, they said to Luis Rivera, could it have been an extortion? It could have been. She lied to me. Yeah. He didn't have to say that. He could just go, I don't know. He didn't go, I don't know all day. He gave him something huge. And those facts didn't mean anything. We had a pile of shit. He had a pile of shit sitting next to the jury, dropped off by someone who was on their way to Miami, like she said she wanted to be in the book. She belittled you people from Tallahassee, and she made her way to the big city of Miami. And she even wrote about it. She wrote what she was going to do, and then she did it, and she showed up at the team. Now you see why, like, those people fucking hate me. You put all that in there, and then you show it on docu photos for 10 minutes and just talk about things. That's not a PowerPoint. You shouldn't be allowed to, like, I mean, maybe it's an appellate issue that she showed it twice. Maybe it's an appellate issue for how long she left it up there. But she was basically just lying her fucking ass off and then showing autopsy photos. I mean, listen, Dan never thought that it would have been like this up there. He never would have spoken the way he did.
Never had anything like this.
Did he say he's never seen anything like this?
Pretty much.
Did he, sorry, well, it just doesn't seem real.
No, I know it doesn't seem real to us either.
What time do you shut the phone? 10:30 or no?
5. Yeah, Dad's asking me, he when you get cut off. Is it 10:30 or 10:45 that they cut it off?
It should be 10:45 when the phone cuts off. It just happened to pick up my tablet at 10:30 yesterday.
Okay.
No, but it's like, I mean, it doesn't seem real. I'm feeling a little better now talking to you guys, talking to Bree, like, but we'll get the appellate lawyers as Tuesday. With, you know, I don't want to spend a fortune, but we got to get somebody good. I'm going to save you money now.
Charlie,
yeah.
I'm getting names tomorrow, so trust me, I'm on it. I'm trying to get names and people have to report for you, and yeah.
I mean, listen, we brought in Josh Dubin. Like, this is not Charlie and Dan taking the jury. Oh, we screwed up. This is somebody who wrote the fucking book of jury selection. And then this is a case that came in as a business code. Like, even better. And then the evidence against me was so unbelievably strong that for 6 years they don't arrest me.
Right. And then the evidence didn't change.
Yeah. Like, if the evidence didn't change, you're taking the whole case. Without my mom and sister. Like, okay, my mom and sister, there was no talk about, like, behaving. She couldn't get any headway with me, so she did it with everything else. She painted the whole picture, but while she was doing it, she was insulting people in Tallahassee. That's honest to God, that's where you lose people. Race, religion, and insulting person. And she knew it, you know, and you spend race, religion, insult them personally, put together Dateline, and then you throw some autopsy photos in. And then before it's over, you throw some more autopsy photos in. And And you get sick. You get angry. You feel insulted. You feel like you're smarter than this person that's doing this. And this person's arrogant. This person thinks he's untouchable. What are they telling you when they're saying that and showing you autopsy photos? Oh, I'll show him who's untouchable. He thinks he's arrogant, this Catwoman? She's saying I'm arrogant. I'm arrogant, I'm untouchable, and I'm showing you the autopsy photos. You want to get somebody back when you're being like, when the person's saying that they think they're better than you, they think they're smarter than you, they're writing books, they're telegraphing their moves in the book. Use your common sense. The girl showed up at the crime scene is writing a fucking book. She's telling you where she's moving. Like it's not real, because you know what? You take these simple lines, and I will tell you that some of the coincidences are fucking scary. But you take the simple lines, you get them to hate the people, you show them coincidences that are extremely hard to believe that the crime suspect shows up coincidentally at the crime scene. Literally. They went and got crime suspect number one, the person who just drove by the crime scene. And you want to say, think with your common sense. Yeah, your common sense says she has to be involved. And if she's involved, he's involved. But that's not the case. I mean, that's as much the case as me calling the home phone number because you get better reception on my cell phone. Like, it's not the case either, but it's a statistically significant event. I mean, what are the chances of me calling the home phone number though? All the few trips that these guys went out. Like, by the way, you know, like the first time that these guys went up, they rented I think like a silver Maxima or a silver Nissan Altima 2004. Right. It was the identical car that Jeff cost them.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. But then you ask Luis Rivera, hey, did anyone tell you to rent a certain car, or was there any reason behind what car you rented? And he's like, no. Okay, then it wasn't a frame job. but literally, when Dan showed me what it was, he's like, it's like the same car that he owned, like the identical car. Like, and then Jeff Lacoste goes like, there's only 2 times that summer that I went on vacation. The first week of June, and I was going to leave on the 18th, and I left the 17th instead. Those are the only 2 trips I took all summer. That's significant if you're talking about framing somebody.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess you just try it up to another coincidence, but like, there would be corroboration with the people that did it if that's what that was the plan was. But that's why it was just something that Jeff was trying to throw. That's why Jeff was so upset. He thought he was getting framed. He was sure.
No, that's the reason he did that. Of course. Wouldn't have done it otherwise.
No, that's why he went in, like guns a-blazing, throwing every name out there, and saying, look at her brother. Because I had a Ferrari. I had money. I'm a brother. Throw the name out. Our family. It's everything. You know, South Florida's Cuban. Oh, you got to know some Cuban people. No one was Cuban. So, like, Hispanic. Well, Hispanic's not Cuban. He's a Cuban. So, like, but it's just like, I get it. He thought he was being framed. He got mad. He was trying to point fingers at everyone else but him. They don't look at me. Look at him. Look at this guy. Like, let me put some fluff in there. But at the end of the day, it's still another witness for the state showing up and throwing shit. So it's like, if they can make Wendy look bad, if they can make Wendy look as guilty as she can without arresting her, then they can convict me. That's basically what it comes down to. That's basically what it comes down to. If they can make Wendy look as guilty as sin, then I have to be good. That's why they were going after my neighborhood. Yeah, I still say, like, what are the chances of suspect number one traveling to the crime scene?
Yeah. It's so absurd, and yet not for these people.
Well, it happened, didn't it?
Yeah, it happened.
I mean, it's either a coincidence or she's involved. You be the judge. Who benefits? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if he is that horse, but that's what the case came down to, and it came down to them getting rid of any possible juror that could have been good for me. And there wasn't many to pick with. It was slim picking. It was slim picking, and anybody who could have been possibly good got X'd off. And with this population, it was either slim pickings or they have it out for you. They're going to have it out for you.
Yeah.
So it never would have flown. She couldn't win on the facts with me, but she could win on a character assassination in the Dateline special. With a slam dunk. Listen, Dan's too smart to really be that wrong. Let me just put it that way. For him,
and you know, we both know that's absolutely true.
Yeah, this was not the case with the facts. And like at one time, I was going through this case with Dan, and you know what he said to me? He said, "This was a normal case. The evidence that we have to prove your innocence at this time." He said, "I think I would call up the prosecutor and say, let's just meet, see if you guys can go over this together and see if you want to dismiss the case." Those were his exact words to me.
Wow.
One thing we're going through, this evidence is so compelling of your innocence. He goes, if this was a normal case, I probably would sit down and show the prosecutor what we have at this point and see if they want to dismiss the case. That's what he was at. That's what he felt with the case. He was worried about one juror not being with us. You know, you got Josh Dubin. It's a guru. Couldn't find her love. That's with a case that you have this much, like, where they're lacking so much, they don't even have a credible witness. Like, so it's a he said, she said, but you have, the she said is lying through her teeth.
Right. So
what are you up against? You're up against the tennis power. If there ever was like a extenuating circumstance where the temperature in the town made it so you couldn't have had a fair shake, this is not the case.
yeah.
I mean, it has to be. I mean, the case you got in that big, if there was ever a case that people said, like, you're not going to get a fair trial if God came down and tried this case, and not because there's, like, overwhelming evidence. There's not.
No,
but there's overwhelming bullshit that paints a picture that's beyond horrible. It paints a picture, it paints a motive, it makes these people look like horrible people. You lie through your teeth, and there's no way. There is no way you could have brought back Johnny Cochran. You would not have won this case, and not because of evidence, but because of the shit shoot, because of the Dateline social. Like, this can't be the end.
that's what we're going to find out. there's enough stuff that needs to be addressed, and I'm not going to give up. We're going to fight it.
Well, I just hope that that it's not the kind of thing that gets to judges that only really see the side of the state, and they're like, well, you got screwed. All right. Jury spoken. I just hope that there's actually extenuating circumstances that people can look at a case and go this is too serious of a thing, and the way the state did it, but hey, they convinced the jury. Doesn't matter how they did it, I guess.
Well, maybe it does matter how they did it. There are some things in there that may matter. I've got a list of them, and we're going to see what we can do.
Did Dan say that there's a chance, a legitimate chance that some of the stuff they did? Or?
No, I didn't talk to him about that. I had too many other things to talk about. I didn't talk about that, and I wanted to but that's why I said I don't know whether it's 30 days or 60. Maybe 30. I need to find out that, and I need to get some names and check some people out, get some advice.
I'm sure Wendy will know some people. We'll get to know some people that would be giving good advice on the cat.
She might.
Just got to see what happens with the jury, with those three jurors.
I know. Well, that's what we got to see that first. But that doesn't stop me from, in the meantime, trying to get somebody. I'm going to do back up when I have it.
No, I appreciate you guys helping me.
Well, as I said earlier, and it's for legal reasons. It's not for any other reason that you haven't spoken to Wendy yet. But I can only tell you she can ask.
No, listen, she saw what happened there. They saw the court, so they were on trial, but they basically used the ton of shit on her to dirty me up.
Yeah, that's what they did.
They would have, it's just, there's a point of, but has other people said to you that there's legal ground that could maybe do something with this?
There are thoughts that something could be done, but I'm not going to discuss it with you now. Dan will tell you after we get some more information.
Yeah. No, that's good. Hopefully there's some juror misconduct. And that's the easiest way to get something overturned is juror misconduct. That's the number one way I've heard.
Say that again? That what?
Juror misconduct is the number one way to get something overturned.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm hoping they find something that would make life easy.
That would be a dream.
That would be a dream.
The jury misconduct is the quickest way to get rid of it.
Oh, I know.
That's
the number one reason.
Yeah, that's the biggest and the best reason. But there has to be extenuating circumstances when you're talking about what went on here in this town, because there's no way that Dan was as prepared as he was. I did the 95% job I did. Josh Jubin comes in and, with this jury, let me tell you something. This jury ain't any different than any other jury you've pulled this town. If you can't get 1 in 12, how the fuck are you going to get 12?
Charlie, just it's FYI, it's 10:41.
Yeah.
So I hate when they put you while you're talking. That always upsets me.
No, I got you. But they could do it at any time with the reception on the thing. But you know what I'm saying, Mom? If the truth is that it wasn't Dan, it wasn't me. I'm innocent, and it's the town.
It wasn't Kay, it wasn't Zubin. You had the best. You really had the best.
I really had the 18. And you're going to tell me that between Dan, his team, how much evidence that they had that I was innocent, how much things to raise reasonable doubt? that they couldn't come up with one fucking juror to vote for me? Not one. Come on. You need 12 to walk out. 12 to get you out the door. We couldn't get one. You think another batch of jurors was going to get me 12 in Tallahassee? Not with that slideshow. Not with that slideshow. She got frustrated with the witness, but the slideshow worked like a charm. You there?
I'm here.
But like, there's no way that Dan could have been that sure about that case. Like, okay, you could say with that jury, you don't stand a chance. It wasn't that jury because you're going to tell me another jury you're going to get 12?
No.
That ain't going to happen. The state won't let it. They're going to have the 2 in 10 that are actually going to give you a fair shot. They're going to take off. And then the other 8 are shit. They're all shit. The fair shot people would be an anonymous person taking a case to court under a normal circumstance. Not podcasts and Dateline and 2020 and Global News and on the radio every fucking day, and newspaper, small town, radio, newspaper, television, blogs, like nonstop third trial going on, them calling me the mastermind, like it was their Super Bowl. Anyway, I love you guys.
I love you too, honey.
I love you, Charlie.
I'm doing better. I do better when I talk to you guys.
Good. That's good. I know it's light and it's hard in there, but try to close your eyes and get some rest, okay? It's a tough day.
No, I'll be good. I'll give you guys a call tomorrow, okay?
Perfect. Anytime. We're super early. Anytime you want.
All right. Me too. I love you guys. Take a Xanax. It's better off taking a Xanax than a heart attack, okay?
We got it.
All right. Love you guys.
I love you too, sweetie. Good night.
All right. Good night. Bye.
Love you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Love you too.
I think it's